Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to session 2 of the Afia Deep Trauma Release Masterclass. So in this session, inshallah, I'm hoping that you will have done your homework, that you have written your letters, and also it's burnt by now. And you feel lighter for it. And I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. So please, inshallah, do email us and tell us your experience. But also, the smiling. Have you remembered to smile? Okay, every day, 30 seconds. And I guarantee you, the moment you start smiling and it becomes a habit, you will notice that your vibration has been raised. And these are the hidden gems in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, where, he said smiling is a sadaqah. And whenever you pay sadaqah, you are always averting some harm away from you. So please, inshallah, don't take this lightly. It's a very simple technique that will lift you up out of the depths of depression. The simple sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So moving into session 2. Now this is where the real work kicks in, and you might have to view this video a few times over if there's anything that you feel that you're not understanding, and if there's ever anything that's there, then inshallah just forward your questions through and we'll answer them for you. The overview of the process now is that the first stage is the introspection, okay, is to look deep within yourself of where the issues are coming from. Thereafter, inshallah, we will go through the release process, leading us onto an insight that you will suddenly realize why you are suffering, why you have been suffering. Once you understand that part, there is now time for remorse. That, okay, you know what? What's happened to me? Why have I gone through this process? And so that remorse kicks in. That then leads us to forgiveness. That will lead us to self-love. And at the end of it, acceptance. And when you reach that level of acceptance, that is where that healing has really manifested itself. That you no longer have that emotion pouring out, that every time there's a trigger, there's a memory, that you become upset by it. But rather you look back and you say, you know what, that was a lesson in our lives that we have learned from, and we no longer allow that to take control of ourselves. And so let's move on to making that connection, the introspection part of it. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Feel free to pause it at any point so that you can jot down these answers. What is the problem? Write down what is the problem. Okay, what is it that you are working with? It's your procrastination, it's your laziness, it's your chronic back pain, your chronic, whatever issue it is, your arthritis, your celiac disease, your Crohn's, your IBS, your migraines. Just write it down. What is the problem? And so when did it all begin? When did it begin? June 94, October 86, whatever the date is, write it down. What are the symptoms? Write down the symptoms that you experience. I get this pain in the side of my head that sort of feels that my neck is stiff, and then goes down my shoulder, and then sometimes it gives me this dizziness, or maybe it's in the side of my back. And so I can't walk properly, I can't sit comfortably, and at night I, can't lie down in a particular way. What are my symptoms? Write them down. What emotions do you feel because of it? I feel sad, or I feel angry, or I feel upset, I feel guilty, I feel not good enough, I feel undeserving, I feel unloved, I feel... What emotions do you feel as a result of it? Emotions. Don't write stories, just write down the core emotions that come up for you as a result of it. Try and put down at least between 3 and 10 emotions. I think 6 or 7 would be good. What judgments do you have about your condition? I shouldn't have it. Why me? What did I do to deserve this? I just hate this so much. I just can't live a normal life. I feel suffocated by it. What emotions and what judgments do you have about your condition? Write those down. What does the condition keep you from doing? I can't go out, I can't socialize, I just can't be around certain people, certain gatherings. I can't take my children out, I can't socialize. Whatever it is, write it down. Now, this is an important part, visualization. I'd like you to close your eyes and just take a gentle deep breath in and out, in and out, in and out. And I'd like you to visualize what is happening in your body when you focus upon that condition. If you're feeling it in your stomach, what is going on in your stomach? Does it feel like there's something that's stuck, something that's poking you, something that's stabbing you? Does it feel like there's a knife in your back and someone's twisting it? Does it feel like you're stuck to, a cross? Do you feel you're being crucified? Does it feel like, someone's just tearing your skin from the inside? What's going on? Does it feel like there's fire burning away in your joints? Does it feel like there's ice in your feet? I don't know. What is it that you're feeling? Does it feel like there's little army of bad cells that is attacking your good cells? What's going on? And just take a time to visualize, and the more creative and playful you are in your mind, the better this will work for you. If you're unable to visualize, you can still imagine, can't you? So even though you don't see it, but you can imagine what is happening. I can imagine that there is this band around my head, made of metal and steel, and it's like a clamp that's pressuring my head. Okay, fine. You don't have to see it, but you can imagine it. So utilize this time to visualize and create a cartoon, okay? And I want you to imagine it as a cartoon. Is it goodie versus baddie, or what's happening? Who's chasing who? And that, inshallah, will begin to create the reality of what actually is going on in your mind and in your body. How does it affect others? How does it affect others? And so it impacts your spouse, it's impacting your marriage, it's impacting your children, impacts your work possibly, impacts your home life, so many things. Write those down. And how would your life be different if you didn't have this condition? I'd be more energetic, I'd be more outgoing, I'd be more trusting, okay? I'd be more willing to participate in family events, all the rest of it. Write it down. And so, ultimately, if you were to go back to the time when your condition started, was there any situation that had some of the components that you have written down, especially in question 4? Okay? Or question 3 and 4. And those are, what emotions do you feel as a result of your condition? So, if you go back to when your condition started, my condition started in October 1994. And if that's when my situation started, and that's when I started to notice the symptoms, what of those emotions of frustration, of anger, of guilt, of feeling not good enough, did they exist at that time? Can you find moments of anger and frustration when your issue actually started? And what I'd like you to do is, looking at those set of emotions, I want you to underline those emotions that really stand out for you. So you might have written down 6 or 10 of them. But what I'd like you to do is just underline the main 2 or 3 emotions that really stick out for you. And when you look back to the time when your condition started, do any of those few emotions stand out in that incident? Or does your mind show you an incident earlier than that? Actually, it wasn't October 1994, it was August 92. That's when it really started, didn't it? Or you were bullied in September when school started in 1984. Is that when it started? So you felt helpless and you felt abandoned. And if you felt helpless and abandoned, and today in your life you are also feeling helpless and abandoned, can you see the link that it's taking me back to the time when I was left at school and I felt helpless and abandoned by my parents and I felt not loved? Is this what is manifesting in your life today? So take some time, don't rush it, and maybe pause the video here for a while and identify the links between your emotions from the symptoms that you are feeling currently to the emotions that you felt when the symptoms begin to manifest. Because ultimately, when the symptoms begin to manifest, the emotional roller coaster and the turmoil that usually led up to that point will have some of those emotional components in that also, which are manifesting in you today. So go and have a look and go and try and pinpoint. And if you can get this done properly, if the connection is made, you will notice that at least 30 to 40% of your symptoms will actually dissolve at this point. And if you're having a problem connecting and finding the root cause of your issue, then please do get in touch so we can assist you with that. And so this leads us on to the release. And the release is very important, because once you've understood that my current behavior comes from the fact that I feel lonely and abandoned, or it might be the fact that I procrastinate because I feel unloved or unfulfilled. It might be because of very high expectations from parents and your teachers that you are not able to fulfill, that it was never good enough, that you were never good enough, that you could never hit that mark of the expectation that they had set of you. Then we are identifying that, and you can trace it back to several incidents that took place in your childhood. But now that you've made a connection that I am failing in life because of this, or because I was abused as a child, whatever it may be, then we now come to the release. Underlying most emotional states is anger. And so anger, we know, is from shaitan, and shaitan is from the fire. As a society, we've not been taught how to express anger. Anger is a poison that you drink hoping that the other person dies, but they don't. You die. Okay? The anger is a poison that is poisoning you and tearing up your body. Subhanallah. Anger is the root cause for most diseases. And this is why we see through ahadith that the Prophet ﷺ continuously mentions your anger, your anger, your anger. You find numerous ahadith pertaining to dealing with your anger. It's not about just swallowing your anger, no. It's about resolving it, okay, in whatever way necessary. Letting go of anger is of paramount importance. If you do not let go of this anger will destroy you. So we have some release techniques. Let's have a look at technique number 1. Feel the anger. Bring it up again by recalling that situation, writing a letter to express it and putting it away. So we've already done this in the first section, but we're going through this now. Second day, reread it and add more as you recall it. And then you'll do this on a third day and make a resolve to let it go. And you burn the letter. So this, I hope you've already done. Second release technique is a meditation that you close your eyes, you take gentle deep breaths in, you visualize the name of Allah above. See that your body is becoming enlightened with this light from the name of Allah, and that you see your perpetrator or oppressor in front of you, and you see that there are chains that are connected between you and your oppressor. And usually you find that the chains are connected at the solar plexus, just below your chest. Or it might be sometimes that it's connected at the neck, your mind or your head. It's going to be very symbolic and unique to yourself. So visualize that this is what's happening to your body, and allow that as that light is coming down from you, that it is also helping to break these chains. Sometimes it'll be chains, sometimes it'll be strings, sometimes it'll be, a very loose thread, whatever it is. But you want to cut those chains, those energetic chains that are locking you in that place. And as you see those chains being broken, sometimes you might just have to pull it and it breaks. Sometimes you might have to hit it with your hand and it'll break. But sometimes you might need a chainsaw. You might need something more industrial, to try and break through this. Just depending on how, intertwined you are with this oppressor. And sometimes it's a family member that you're trying to detach. You are not breaking family ties. Please understand that. You are not breaking family ties, but you are breaking the energetic bonds that you have got stuck in. And sometimes the oppressor, which might be a narcissistic parent or a spouse, that relationship is not healthy for you. Okay, so we're not severing family ties. We are severing the energetic bonds that you are being oppressed through. Once those chains break, and sometimes the chains might not break straight away, you might have to do this exercise over a number of days before you feel that these chains are weakening, until you reach that point where you can actually see that these chains break away. The other way to do this exercise also is when you close your eyes, you imagine that your perpetrator or the oppressor is standing in front of you. And as you are doing that, you can simply say to them, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for all the lessons that you have taught me, because ultimately they have. Thank you for all the lessons that you have taught me. I no longer need you in my life, and so I am letting you go. Give them a gift offering of a flower or a chocolate or whatever's on sale. Give it to them and visualize them. And as you are visualizing them, that they've accepted the fact that you no longer need them in your life, you say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. And you move your hand down in a cutting motion, okay, that you are cutting all the cords that are there in your torso. And as you do this 3 times, you visualize that all the chains are cut and they turn around and they walk off into the distance where there's a light. They can walk off into the light, and we don't want to see them again. And this is a very, very powerful exercise of just letting people go, because a lot of the times we hold on to those oppressors even though they cause us harm. Every time we think of them, it upsets us. It really emotionally drains us. So why do we need them in your mind? Why do we need them in your psyche? This allows them to go. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. This is a zibah. Okay, this is just literally cutting and slaughtering away that connection, severing those ties that we do not need. And let them go. Let them disappear into the light and free yourself. And let it be through each person in that way that has harmed you and caused you problems that you don't want anything to do with. Let them go. And inshallah, do this on a regular basis, on a daily basis, at least for 7 to 10 days, 14 days. And you will start to see how much your body starts to ease and, start to regain its own balance as well. Release technique 3. which is the 4-scene meditation. And this is the one that is recommended, and I recommend that you do this fully. Scene 1. So what's going to happen is that we're going to replay 4 scenes or 4 scenarios. In scenario 1, you just close your eyes and you replay your trauma, okay? As a spectator, I don't want you to be the actor in it. I want you simply to sit here and there is a cinema screen in front of you and you just witness what happens. And by doing so, that will bring up the emotion in you. Once the emotion is there, open your eyes and that scene closes. Scene 2, close your eyes again and visualize that scene again, but this time express the emotion the way that you would have liked to. So that means that this time it doesn't matter if that person is 10 times your size. It doesn't matter what people are going to say, what your husband might say, what your wife might say, or what will the community say. But this time you have the opportunity to go to that person and scream and shout back to the degree that you want to. You can swear, you can shout, you can even start to punch and beat the daylights out of them. And as long as it is in your mind, you are not expressing with your tongue. I don't want you to be punching yourself or punching into a pillow. No, I want you simply to focus and in your mind just release that emotion, release that anger, scream and shout and break plates and scratch their cars and break their phones, whatever you want to do until you feel that you have really, really expressed that emotion out of yourself. If it needs, if there is a need, you can punch them and kick them and push them down the stairs or whatever it is. But if you don't need to, avoid it, okay, screaming and shouting and just making them feel like, this is what would have happened. You have to release that emotion. I know this is difficult for some people when they're, working the scenario against parents or especially spouses. But sometimes it has to be done. The energy exchange has to be met. Okay, so don't try and be goody two-shoes at this point, because that's what's got you in so much trouble up to this stage. Once you have expressed that emotion, you open your eyes again and take a few gentle deep breaths and just stabilize yourself. You might want to use your anchor and calm down again. Close your eyes again, deep breath in, go into scene 3. The perpetrator now listens. So now you're sitting face to face. The perpetrator now listens and cares. You speak to them about the concerns, and as you are speaking to them, you are breaking the shell that is covering their heart, because inside that shell there is some goodness. Okay, they might have done the worst of things to you, and I'm not, on their side or anything, but ultimately there is a part of them that is hurt, there is a part of them that is, disorientated for them to do what they did to you. And so when we speak to them, we are digging deep within their psyche. We are digging deep into the depths of their heart where the light really does shine. And so they are absorbing that information, absorbing what you are saying to them, and they are feeling remorse for it. And so you are literally telling them, what you did to me, this is how I suffered, and this is how I carried that hurt. This is how I carried the pain. And you really, really hurt me all those years. I had no one else to look up to. I had no support from anyone. And the one person that I thought that would support me, even you didn't. And this is why I've been carrying myself, and I've been carrying that hurt and carrying that pain and going to sleep at night crying in my tears. Let them explain and let them feel that remorse as well. Okay, so in the previous scene, you had battered them and beaten them up and stabbed them or whatever you did. But in this scene now, you are starting to bring these turbulent waters of your emotions back into a calmer state, that they are now starting to understand the impact that they left upon you as a result of their actions. And so after that, you can open your eyes. Now, at this stage, subhanAllah, if you feel that you no longer want to work with the perpetrator, that's it, it's done. But sometimes, in many situations, in scene 4, you close your eyes again and you recreate the scene how you would have liked it to have been, so that your parents didn't abandon you, that your mother bought you that ice cream, that bully didn't bully you, but rather he was your friend. But I know that this becomes very difficult when it comes to sexual abuse, for example. That how would it have been any other way? That family member didn't do that wrong to you. And so if you feel that you can't do scene 4, it doesn't matter. Processing base emotions. Now that we've done the release, we want to move into processing those emotions. And like I said, anger is the predominant emotion that will come up for most things. Anger leads to inflammation in the body, and inflammation in the body is connected to inflamed emotions. Itis conditions generally are the emotions that are not expressed. And so any itis conditions, again an inflamed condition, is connected somehow to an emotional event in your life. You also then have, apart from anger, you have hurt and sadness. You also have shame, we have guilt as the base emotions. So let's see how to deal with anger, hurt and sadness. They all fall into the same category. First, you feel the emotion deeply. So feel that anger, or feel the hurt, or feel the sadness, whichever one it is. If you have hurt, someone hurt you, you feel hurt. But as you scrape the layers of hurt, you'll notice that below it is actually anger. Similarly with sadness, I am sad. Why are you sad? Does this person did this to me? So how did that make you feel? At the time, it made me feel angry. But because you were not able to express that anger by slapping that person or beating that person up, it then became sadness, or someone that you trusted. And so the underlying emotion is always anger. So feel the emotion deeply and then set the timer for 20 minutes on your phone. And then begin to cry. Let the emotions flow. And see how long you can go on for. And normally people won't go past the 6, 7, 10, 12 minute mark. Okay? But even if you cannot cry, sit there and just keep feeling that emotion. Keep bringing it up in yourself. And don't get up before the 20 minutes. Sit there the full 20 minutes. And what I've noticed with my clients as well is that sometimes they might start to get upset after 15 minutes, 16 minutes, and then be able to cry until the 20-minute mark. Sometimes you can cry the first 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 12 minutes. But if you've finished your crying, do not get up. Wait until the full 20 minutes is up. And so just wait and just keep feeling that emotion. Keep trying to bring it up. Because you might have like 2 minutes of crying, 3 minutes of wait, and then another 5 minutes of crying, and then just sitting around for 5 minutes. But the 20 minutes is important. After that, drop the emotion and say, okay, done, right? I've cried it out, and that emotion has now come out through the action of the crying, and change your state of mind. Just change your awareness, switch on your phone, switch on, anything else that is going to divert your attention, and then walk away from the scene. And ideally, straight after, go and nurture yourself for 1 hour. Pamper yourself. Do something that you like. Okay, go out for a walk, take a bath, watch a TV program that you like. Go and exercise. Go and do something that you like for that 1 hour. Go shopping. Okay, don't spend any money though. And see what happens. Because what that will do is that you are rewarding yourself for letting go of that emotion. And every time you reward yourself, it's almost like it's gratitude. Okay, and everything, we know the universal law of gratitude. Allah says, وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Whenever you are grateful, we will increase it for you. So you are thanking your body for processing that anger. Processing shame. Shame is an inherited emotion. The question is, who made you feel this way? In a meditation, so close your eyes and imagine the shame that you've got is rubbish. That is filled in a black bag. So shame is something, a scenario whereby someone has come over to your house, knocked your door, you open the door and they says, oh, hello. They walk into your house with these bags of rubbish and then they scatter this rubbish in your house and walk away. You are taking these bags of rubbish back to this person, knock on their door, they open the door and say, this is yours. I want to give it back to you. And then walk away. If you want to do it properly, walk into their house and open up these black bags and scatter that rubbish everywhere through them. And then detach from it and walk away. Processing guilt. Guilt is anger, ultimately, you feel that you have no right to express. Guilt is anger you feel you have no right to express because someone cut me up and then ultimately I scraped my car and then this happened, or I ran over the cat, or the kid ran onto the road and I bumped into them. Ultimately it's anger. Why did that kid run into the road? Or why did this person do this? But now the consequence of it is where you start to feel sorry, or you feel you are not able to express. So we need to turn that guilt into anger first. So go through the process and identify where you find that anger. And you'll find it in the lower depths of your psyche. Explore the guilt and identify the underlying anger. Then set the timer for 20 minutes and begin to express the emotion. After which, let go and go pamper yourself for 1 hour. And again, if you can't pamper yourself for 1 hour, then give yourself 20 minutes or 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but utilize that time to pamper yourself. A very important point at this junction is that some people feel that they don't need the pamper. It's almost like I don't deserve it. I don't need it. No, it's okay. If that is the case, that also is identifying another issue within yourself. It's identifying that you always want to give others, but you don't feel that you are deserving of it. And that shows that you feel that you have no self-love, that you are not deserving of it. And so that's something else that needs to be explored also. That if you cannot pamper yourself, if you feel that you don't deserve it, it's okay, I don't need it, everyone else should be happy, everyone else deserves a treat, but I don't need a treat, it's okay, I'm all right, then know that there are issues there also. And so something to explore in subsequent sessions as well when you're doing this. Which ultimately will lead you to an insight. When you complete the process of processing the emotion, it will lead you to an insight that I am doing this to me. I am doing this to me. And this step will only come after the preceding two. Whatever someone else did to you, you will go on to do it to yourself and others. If someone abandoned you, you will abandon others. If someone hurt you, you will hurt others. If someone shamed you, you go and shame others. If someone ridiculed you, you continue to ridicule others. So let's just come back to this point of I am doing this to me. Let's understand this properly. The bully bullied you in school. The abuser abused you in your early years. But after that time, for most people, the abuse does stop. The bullying does stop. But since that time, when that abuse took place, for example, when you were 7 till 11, after 11 years old, things were cleared. But from 11 till 41, 30 years, you've been carrying that abuse. What have you been doing? The perpetrator is no longer in your life. But you have been hurting yourself on behalf of the perpetrator in the same way. The bully that bullied you, called you names. The teacher that put you down in front of the class repeatedly saying that you're an average student, you're never going to be good enough, you're thick, you're never good. You've been saying this to yourself now for the last 30 years. In the absence of that teacher, in the absence of the bully, in the absence of those narcissistic parents, you've been putting yourself down because they put you down for a few years. you putting yourself down for some decades. And so the result of you finding yourself in the situation that you are in is a result of your own doing, I'm sorry to say. That you have been doing this to yourself. And as Shaitan will say on the Day of Judgment, do not blame me, but rather blame yourselves for what you carried on doing to yourselves. Shaitan left a whisper, but we acted out on that whisper far longer than the input that he actually gave us. So yes, the perpetrator is at fault, but more so, we are at fault also. And so the homework for session 2 is that please try the different release techniques, see what works for you, but also make sure that the release technique 3, which is the 4-scene meditation, that is extremely, extremely powerful. Give yourself the time and take that time out of your day to actually sit and do this. It'll have to be done regularly, and revisit those same scenes over and over again. And each time you will notice that there will be less and less emotion stuck in your body, which shows that it is working, that the emotions are actually coming out. Make a resolve to let it go, okay? Because you've come this far and you've signed up on this masterclass. This is your chance to let it go. We're giving you the steps, so please, please, please take those steps and make a resolve to let it go. The 20-minute crying session, so important, okay? Sit the full 20 minutes. If you do not sit the full 20 minutes, it's not having the desired effect that we want you to have. Feel the feelings only. Don't become involved in the whole scenario. Don't start reliving the trauma again. Just feel the feelings. If at any point you feel that you're becoming overwhelmed by it, close your eyes and pinch. Take yourself back to a safe place. Yeah? And that way, inshallah, you will stay in control. Continue to use the anchor, yeah, because that will ground you. And also, if at this point you feel overwhelmed, you feel fatigued, you feel that your body has taken a battering or a bashing, you've been run over by a bus, then please take a salt bath. Okay, fill up your bathtub with salt, and put in a lot of salt. Don't put a tablespoon of salt, put a kilogram of salt, okay, a half kilogram of salt, and lie in that for at least 20 minutes. And the salt will literally absorb emotion out of your body. It will relax your muscles and it will ease your mind as well. For those of you that don't have a salt bath, then have a foot bath, okay? So foot spa, mix some salt into a foot spa and put your feet in there, and that also will have an impact. If you've just got a shower, wet your body, rub the salt on your body for a while, leave it there for a few minutes, and then wash it off. And inshallah, that also will have some impact on it. So please get the homework done, and we will see you in the next session. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.